and welcome to the East County Sports Report. I'm Ramon Scott, and I'm joined by Dave Dickens of EastCountySports.com. And Dave, we're going to have a great time tonight. We brought someone on to celebrate with us. Let's be reserved in our excitement. I mean, we've had some rough times, but we're going to celebrate with Christian High senior volleyball player tonight, Caitlyn Eichhorst. You had to read my notes. So many Eichhorsts over the years. We'll ask Caitlyn about all of her family and all the athletics. But Dave, we're going to start off. Caitlyn, hopefully you'll bear with us. But Dave, just so exciting. We don't know all the details yet of what's going to transpire over the next couple of weeks. We've already seen some cross-country meets. That's been very exciting. But just great news that's come down the line over the last week. And hopefully we'll get those indoor sports going too for Caitlyn and all the volleyball, basketball, and all those sports. But Dave, just give me your thoughts on everything that's transpired and your excitement as we're finally pulling out somewhat of the pandemic.
Absolutely. It's almost surreal that we're finally here after so much bad news across the board, and being the last state and being such the large state in capacity of what the population of our athletics and how many athletes come out of not only California, but Southern California in particular. So, to have that shut down for so long and then finally get the news, don't want to get too political, but after maybe a little nudge we'll have him remain nameless, but a little nudge at the top. And finally, all other 49 states were already playing sports quite a bit ahead of time of us. And we finally are opening up. And now, Caitlyn, Christian was a little bit ahead of the Grossmont Conference, though. You guys have been, you had started quite a bit earlier, pretty much on time for volleyball season. Am I correct?
We started a little bit later. I think we started practicing around probably early December. And we did 2 a week, and it was only touch your own ball. But yeah, it was hard, but we got through it.
Yeah. And tell us about that. If you could elaborate on, what is the new protocol? Are we wiping down the ball every practice? Every time somebody strikes? Or do we have maybe 10 balls that are in use that are tossed up back in there after one is used?
So at the beginning, we could only touch our own ball, and we couldn't touch anyone else's. And it was wiping down all the balls, not touching anyone. Now that it's kind of changed a little bit, we're always wearing masks. But we've kind of evolved into more of okay, we have 10 balls total that we can touch this practice. And now you get to wash all the balls at the end. So it's gotten easier, but still lots of work.
Well, we're going to before you know it, Dave, we're going to blow through these other sports and get to those indoor sports. Man, this is going to be a whirlwind before we get to June. I tell you that.
Well, that's what I think is going to happen. And I think we all foresaw this. I'm sure you did too, Caitlyn. And you're probably already seeing that you're overlapping with basketball and, sharing the gym a little more exclusively than probably would have been a year and a half ago or so. Am I correct?
Yes. We only get 2 days out of the week to practice because basketball's in there the other days.
Yeah. Gonna have to manage that. Dave, we brought Caitlyn on, of course. She announced a little over a week ago, I think, that you know what? We got a high school volleyball season. Hopefully we're going to get underway, but Caitlyn's sealed the deal, Dave. She's going to be heading up to Chico State. Great volleyball program. That's a very interesting story. We'll talk about it with Caitlyn. But Caitlyn, congratulations on your announcement. Just tell us what's gone into that, how soon, how fast did it transpire? And maybe you can elaborate a little bit. I'll converse with you if you'd like on some of the complexities, if you will, with Chico State. Of course, their legendary coach passed away He was ill, but he was getting better, but he was sick. And they have a guy there now who they list him as the interim coach, but I imagine that's because you don't just replace a legendary coach like Coach Heim that they had one losing season in 17 years. Did you get a chance to meet their longtime coach, or was their new coach your contact? What's gone on? Tell us about your Chico State experience that's starting to roll.
The recruiting process was actually very fast for me. So I just met the interim head coach, which I think he is now the head coach, but I think they're on a hiring freeze. I met him about 3 weeks ago now, and I just got in contact with him about 4 weeks ago. So it was super fast. So I sadly never got to meet the Coach Hein. But I had a recruiter help me out, Lou Birch. He reached out to Chico actually, and he thought it would be a great fit for me. So then the Chico coach reached out right away and was like, I saw your video. Your video was geared towards me. I thought everything about your setting, I liked. And so obviously that made me super excited. And our first phone call was really good. He talked about he was the first coach ever to be like, you are a great setter, but I see what you need to work on and I want to fix you, which was amazing to hear someone say that to me, because now I know that they want a future with me. And so I was actually supposed to go on a recruiting trip to Florida that next week. And before I went, he called me and he offered me a spot on the team. And we decided to change our plans last minute and head up to Chico instead. And I walked around the campus and I loved it. And I just felt wanted there. So then I called him the day after I got home and I said I would love to play for him.
Yeah, Dave, kind of an interesting story. The coach is, I believe he's a resident of maybe a Chico native, or at least had been there a long time and had coached there before, went off and took over his own program, and maybe knew that maybe Coach Heim wasn't in the best condition. He had some illness and came down and got back with the program and coached with and under Coach Heim. Coach Heim took a hiatus. The new coach I say the new coach, he's a veteran coach, but he was able to fill in while Coach was getting his medical situation squared away. And they got a great program, Dave. Coach Heim had one losing season in 17 years. Chico State is a winning volleyball program. Competitive. They play a lot of, they don't dominate necessarily. A lot of winning, a lot of competitive matches, a lot of competitive seasons up there, Dave. It's going to be awesome for Caitlyn.
Now, Caitlyn, how about I know we're speaking in particular on the athletic portion of it, but I'm sure a lot of our viewers would also like to know, have you picked out a major yet over there at Chico?
I'm not 100% sure what I want to do, but I really would love to major in communications and head into sports broadcasting after that.
Oh, I'm out of here.
Hey, and we've said this in past shows. If you ever need an internship and you're ever interested and you're in the neighborhood, we would be more than happy to assist you with that. We always could use help. If you're even interested in going to a Christian High football game over there at Valley Stadium, we would definitely invite it. It's probably some folks say it's an unrewarding job, but I think it's a rewarding job. Absolutely. I mean, we've missed it so much. It's almost mentally draining to come up with material when there's no athletics actually being played on the field. So
are you tired of me, Dave, after a year of these shows with no sports?
Well, we come up with something, but it's just nice to see and then hear a story when Coach Mitchell and head of the AD department over at Christian High too. Mm-hmm. I was the first one he was to get in touch with, which he had told me when he took over the program that he would make sure that the local guys, ourselves, Ramon and myself, would be the first to be contacted. And obviously I was blown away, just like you, Caitlyn, to have an honor like that, to be accepted, by Chico State. I'm sure you had several other offers as well, and to be able to stay somewhat close to home. I mean, you're still in the state,
yeah.
So I'm sure your parents are happy with that.
They are.
Yeah, but how about that program too, Caitlyn? Did you? I mean, obviously at Chico, we've had some people go, from the Grossmont Conference and have success at Chico State. Did you think that, look into their program a little bit and see how good they've been and say, hey, this looks like a place where I'd like to play?
For sure. I definitely think I've always wanted to play volleyball in college. And I think one of the biggest factors in looking for colleges was a good volleyball program. So the fact that I could go there, I am going there, and they have an amazing volleyball program. It just makes me so excited.
But Dave, certainly we could get Caitlyn to head over to Granite Hills for a football game, but she knows her way around the facilities all around it. Christian High, probably mostly the baseball diamond. I mean, Caitlyn, how did you end up in the volleyball court? Your dad, he's a little bit younger than I am, but he was a very good hitter for some good Grossmont teams in the late 80s. His brothers, Taylor, right? Well, I remember beat Biola that one day. I don't know if you were born. You probably be I don't know how old you were, probably in your single digits. But one day, her brother beat Biola single-handedly in a doubleheader and gave Christian Heritage the GSAC title, their first ever baseball title. They had a great team. He was a good player on that team. They had some good players on that team. And of course, I think he had another brother that played at Christian Heritage, or just in the last couple of years. Caitlyn, how did you end up in volleyball? You probably could swing the stick a little bit, right?
Yeah. I'm surprised, but I was never put into softball or baseball, actually. I started at a young age in all-star cheer, actually. So interesting. But I did that until I was probably 11. And then at 11, I was like, I'm done. I just didn't, I wasn't having fun anymore. My mom was like, you should try volleyball. That's what I played in high school. So I was like, all right. So my mom put me in our local club, and I ended up loving it and just every day loving it more. And yeah.
So softball never crossed your mind even for a second?
Surprisingly not.
No,
your mom was competitive.
But do you actually do you enjoy it as a spectator or baseball as a spectator?
I do like watching baseball.
Okay.
Just because I grew up around it and I understand.
Yeah.
Well, you'll definitely enjoy. You'll be looking forward to the professional side of baseball this year for our hometown team that just spent a lot of money, but fielding a very good team. It looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Caitlyn, Christian High, we hope get this season going. Hopefully have a pretty good team. Last year, I could say last year, but I mean last season. It was actually in 2019. I almost want to cry when I say that. But you guys started off red hot. I believe won 10 out of your first 13 games and stumbled a little bit, I think, in the league play, and then that tough loss in the postseason. But you guys had a pretty good team, and we'll have some returning players this year. Can you tell me some of your teammates coming up this year?
So we have an outside hitter, Kate Beezer. She's one of my best friends. She plays epic.
She's only a junior, right? She's big time now.
Yes, and she's very good. We lost our other big outside hitter, Allie Carrion. She actually went on and played basketball at UC Davis. And we have a libero, Jada. She's very good. And a middle, Paris. She's 6'3", so she's pretty tall. Wow. Another hitter, Arden, who's a returner. Lehman.
Oh, Arden, she was a big part of last year's team, right?
Yeah, a lot of returners. We did lose some key players, but I think we'll be okay.
But does anybody stand out that any of the younger class in particular?
You guys got some seniors for sure, right? I mean,
yes.
Other than
I'm not really sure about the younger class just because I haven't really seen a lot of them play. I'm sure there is.
Yeah,
but it doesn't. Obviously, it doesn't surprise us. Another Beezer athlete that stands out.
I know so many of them.
Yeah, between you and her and Allie, I mean, that was a lot of. If they had to wipe off the volleyball every time there was a kill last season with those three, Dave, would have probably spent a lot on those, like kind of like when we were trying to buy his sanitizer from China back in March, that last March, because they really did a great job. But tell us about how that 2019 season went, Caitlyn. The red hot start, obviously. You guys got off to, I believe, like a 7-1 start. Maybe it was like a 10-3. But just tell me what went on with the season.
Last year, our team was a very tight team. We were all hanging out after practice, before practice, whenever we had time, pretty much. So I think that contributed a lot to how we played with each other on the court. And I think we just used that bond to really like come together and just play what we love to play. And we did start off very well. I think like 8-1 or 7-1. I think as we got into harder teams, we still played hard. It just, at the end of the day, like you just get outplayed sometimes. But we had a great season.
Well, everyone.
Go ahead, Dave. I want to ask Caitlyn real quick. Caitlyn, could Allie be a collegiate volleyball player if she wanted to?
I think she could. She didn't ever really play club volleyball, but just based on how she played in high school, I definitely think she could.
Good, Dave.
I was just going to say, but I mean, to be the best, we all know that we have to beat the best. And I would say an athlete of your caliber, you definitely want to play those top tier teams, which now can actually add to film, which is going to be benefiting everybody now that we can get more of that and more scouts. I mean, I've been beating the scout thing to death for probably the last year, just because I really think it's affected a lot of seniors' futures as far as where they're going to go, if they're going to get that scholarship to the school that they want to go to, or if they're going to get a scholarship at all, based on what little film that they had from 2019. And by removing that 1 year, I think really was detrimental to not just to football, but to every sport, including volleyball. When you're limited like that, I think it limited the opportunities, which I think you benefited actually by getting. I mean, Chico State is like Ramon said, is top tier. I mean, I'm sure you can get better than that, but that's pretty much the best that you could see for yourself, and then being closer to home and staying in California. And what do you think? I mean, tell us what's Christian looking like this year. What are your thoughts as far as how far you guys will go into the postseason? Because we all know you guys will make the postseason.
So we do have quite a few returners, and then we also have we have a very young team. I feel like there's about probably like 4 upperclassmen, and then the rest should be underclassmen. So very young team. I think with the team we have, though, I feel like we could work very well together and make it pretty far. We have a new coach this year, and I think that she could really take us to the next level.
Now, did she bring a lot of experience? You want to speak on her a little bit and how much experience she's had?
Yeah. So her name's Susie Willett, and she actually played at Hawaii. She was an outside, and she's like 6'3" or something. And she, from what I've seen from her videos, she's a very good hitter and a very knowledgeable coach.
That's excellent. And we know it's a pretty much a winning tradition at Christian High School as a whole. And not surprisingly, a lot of the girls' sports too. I mean, we could talk about the basketball team that you shared the court with are very talented, and they've been talented for the last several years, which I think they're going to bring another great team and probably bring another trophy home to Christian. And,
most likely.
So as far as this year, though, anybody that stands out to that you're looking forward to playing?
Is Serene on the team, Kayla?
She was last year. She got hurt towards the end of the year, and now I think just focusing on basketball because I don't think she wants to get hurt again.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
So, is there anybody that stands out on the schedule that you really are looking forward to playing, or in the conference?
I'm always excited to play El Cap and Granite. There are two like nearer schools. They're like one's this way, one's that way. Granite's next door. I have a lot of friends at both. I know both of the team. I know like pretty much everyone on both teams. So I always love playing against them.
And a lot of them end up playing basketball too. That's I know that
Yes.
especially at El Cap, there was quite a few that played basketball and volleyball.
Mhm.
So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe we can keep Caitlyn can put on her broadcasting hat. Maybe we could just talk about some of the things that are starting to occur right now with all the sports. Dave, I just I don't know. We want to reserve our excitement because of so much pain that so many people have felt, over the last year. But man, you just can't help but think that all these positive numbers right now, the outlook, the falling off the cliff, if you will, of these pandemic charts. If you kind of look at those, I mean, it's just exciting, Dave, to get rolling like this. Just kind of waiting for the guidance to change. We just need these numbers to drop a little bit more. There was that lawsuit that was brought forth by Nicholas Gardenera of Scripps Ranch High School that cleared the way for the CIF to actually conduct events without the state's approval, or the CIF's approval, I guess. But the CIF has kind of balked on that and said, you know what, we're going to wait until the numbers fall under the threshold of safety. So, Dave, that was just something that's kind of transpired within the last 48 hours or so. After we got the news, came the information about the lawsuit, but the CIF's not moving forward until they actually get the word. But nonetheless, El Cap thinks they're going to run down the street this Friday, and why not?
And I wanted to touch on that actually. It did happen quite a while ago, but I was going to ask you, Caitlyn, did you happen to were you part of that walk over there by Granite Hills when we were the Let Them Play?
Mm-hmm.
Were you part of that, or were you able to make that?
I was not. I had club volleyball practice that day.
Oh, I'll tell you, I don't know, and I'd like to know your opinion on that, but a great turnout, and I'd like to think that did play a factor in pressuring Sacramento to lift it for the county in particular, and all of California, really.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Caitlyn? I would like to say, and we're bringing Caitlyn. She's a senior in high school, so we're not going to put her on the spot. Although she's going to Chico State College, she probably has some opinions. But the timing of it, to me, the downturn of the pandemic, the positive downturn, if you will, kind of has as much to do with the time of the year, the season. I think, looking at it now, but just the fact that the group of students kind of rallied together at all these campuses, led by some great civic leaders who are really just coaches, teachers, parents, to put the pressure on them to let these kids go out there and play. And for you guys that have just been, I don't want to say sitting around. I mean, certainly you're working on your craft. We've tried to do whatever athletics we've been able to do privately over the last year. You talk about club volleyball, you could probably discuss it. It's because it's all in the open now. CIF's been very open with their policies now that, kids certainly play club volleyball, get out and do whatever you can. So what's your year been like with the pandemic, with your training, and your opinion on all the positivity now after such a rough year?
Mm-hmm. So at the beginning of COVID, I did a lot of working out, just no volleyball, just because I didn't know where I could play at that time. Just a lot of working out, a lot of at-home drills. And then into summertime, that's when my club volleyball actually opened up. Lots of protocols, though. Have to get temperature taken every time you walk in, masks all the time. Like socially distanced, can't touch each other, but it was great to get in the gym. And ever since then, I've just had club all the time, and it's been great. I think that sports are a way for kids to like let loose and get away from all the school pressure and everything that involves with that. So
That's what I was going to actually ask. That's leading into something is it's got to be. I mean, I see with my own son. He's 15, attending West Hills, and uh, just the whole mental aspect of it, especially if you're an athlete and not being able to, you know, collaborate with your team, play with you, be with your team that you've been playing with, especially if you've been playing with them for a couple of years. And I mean, the simple things too, the high fives, or you know, are we doing elbows now? Are you guys doing elbows?
we've moved into elbows, but that was a few weeks ago. We just started doing that.
And you know, it's funny. I don't know if you're young for that, but I'm sure that they've told you before. It just brings me back to the late '80s, and you know, I'm talking about Ramon, the Jose Canseco, and Mark McGuire playing for the
Oh,
Oakland
okay. Yeah, the
Athletics.
Bash Brothers.
The
Sure.
Bash Brothers. They started the elbows. Who would have known that would have been the way that we'd have to do it, or the I preferred over
Well,
the Air Five personally.
Hey, I
but-
think we all can agree that volleyball is probably the least socially distanced celebrating of all the sports. I mean, after every great point, you got to get together, you got to get in that little huddle, and you got to,
Yep.
you know. So hopefully, like I said, you know, the timetable, it's going to happen very fast, and I just think that the rate of the decline in the spread of disease, if you will, the virus, going down so rapidly. We're going to get this going. We're going to get our outdoor sports going. We're going to get our indoor. We're going to get some seasons in, Dave. It's going to be great. You're going to be busy, Dave. I'm so happy. Let's talk about some of the things. You're already, you know, it's only been 48 hours, Dave, and you've already had your phone on your ear the whole time. You've lined up several teams for football previews. We don't even know the date of the first game yet, but you know what? You're so fired up, and so is everybody else. Tell us what you got planned over the next days and weeks before we get kickoff going. Hopefully, you know, whatever, March 14, 17 out on my calendar. But what do you got going? You've talked to some teams. I know we got some shows lined up this week.
Well, you know, I'd like to even hand it to Coach Mitchell and to you too, Caitlin, to kind of get that, because it'd been kind of quiet, to get that spark going. And then Ramon shared with me a tweet on where we are and opening up with these practices and finally getting football practice in. And so I went on and just I just went crazy. I guess I contacted somebody real close to you, actually, right down the street, I should say, called Coach Kellen Cobbs, and I said, Kellen, is this thing for real, or is this thing for real? He said, nope, we're going. We've been practicing, and we're going to be ready to go, and we're going to be playing at the beginning of March. I want to say it's going to be the 5th. But they are very fired up over there. They've been practicing. So he said, I have plenty of information. I know who my stars are. I know who my returners are. I know who's going to be making the big plays. And we all know Justice McComb is going to be huge for the Granite Hills Eagles. He's probably going to be a top 5 in the county for sure. And I'm putting that out there now before they even play. Also spoke to Coach Ash over there at West Hills High School. Looking forward to talking to him on Wednesday, I believe, with a couple of his guys, and Coach Carlo over at Grossmont Foothillers. They're fired up. They've been getting together very carefully, though. Coach Carl is very careful with his players. Really, not to say that the other coaches aren't, but very concerned with his players being healthy and ready for the season. Even singled out Justin Brown, his new quarterback. Now that Mr. Oda moved on after several great years at Grossmont, and also Blake at linebacker. We'll be talking with him as well, and then of course Coach Carlo. And actually, it's funny. I got a call from Coach Mitchell 3 minutes before we were supposed to go on, and which I have to give him a call later and set him. He's he's ready to set something up too. So it's been a busy. You're right. It's actually been a busy last 12 hours being on the phone, and I can't be happier. And I'll tell you, Caitlyn, you ever do get into the broadcasting, anybody that says it's unrewarding, I think they need to really check themselves, because it's. I'm not going to say that it's the most rewarding financially in every aspect, but I will tell you this: it is the most fun that you will ever have in your life. If you're not on the field playing, to be able to talk sports, to be able to share the film, to be able to edit the whole program that Ramon and I go through is just it's fantastic. It's definitely something worth looking into, and with the knowledge and the athletes that you've had in your family for so many generations, I mean, why not?
Well, yeah, Dave, it's funny. You mentioned Coach Danny Mitchell. You mentioned Coach Mitchell, Danny Mitchell, of course, of the Patriots. But it was Danny's dad, of course, Mike, that coached Caitlyn's uncles in baseball. So, of course, they went to Christian. Caitlyn's at Christian. John was, Grossmont. Caitlyn, did you just always were going to go to Christian High?
I'm not really sure if I was always supposed to. I actually went to Christian in 8th grade when my brother was there. And yeah, I love it.
And how has it been academically? I mean, obviously you've enjoyed your courses, also your teachers. I mean,
she's been to UT all academic listing also, I believe.
Yes, it is a tough school, but if you work hard, it's rewarding. All the teachers are great. Everyone around you supports you.
And that's what we got to say. Not only do they support the students, not to exclude anybody from the Grossmont Conference, but as far as private schools are concerned, Christian has also been kind to East County sports. We have been very fortunate to be able to be regulars, if you will, over at Christian High School for all the athletics. When Coach Beezer and Athletic Director Beezer was there, and it's always been a pleasure. Very welcoming school. The athletes have been phenomenal to give us the time, because a lot of times we just played a heck of a game. We're tired. We want to get to the locker room, but I've always been very humbling and very what's the word I'm looking for. They've just been really great with us, and to spend the time and take the time out to give us an interview, and which we like to reward you all too, and get you out there prior to getting scholarships and such.
Yeah, for sure, Dave. And Dave, I just want to touch on a few more things with you before we get out of here. And we thank Caitlyn for joining us. And we'll see. Well, Caitlyn, what have they told you about a timetable? Anyways, do you do some Zoom work or all in the gym with the Christian High team? Have they given you any dates right now? I know we're waiting on a lot of information, but
as of right now, no. I think a scrimmage is like in the talks, but I'm not sure when.
And Dave, like I said, it's just going to be coming. A whirlwind. Yeah, it's going to be a.
I think we lost his sound.
Let's say.
There we go.
Am I back? Okay.
Yeah, I was going to keep going.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's going to be a whirlwind of events with not only football and some other early sports. The seasons are a little bit changed now with they call it seasons 1 and 2. I basically am calling them outdoor and indoor at this point. It's kind of what I believe it's kind of what it's come down to, and that's why they're going to fight for that gym space. But Dave, we do know that we're just waiting on really the announcement from CIF right now to get those football dates. If they don't start the first Friday, it'll be the Friday after. So just go ahead.
I am gonna go out on the limb and say that we'll be playing under the lights. It'll be Friday Night Lights. Will begin on the 5th of March, and I'm just gonna speak it out, and it's gonna happen. It's time. We've been talking about it for so long. Everybody's been talking about it. It's been pushed back in the indoor sports as well. I mean, it's time to play. We've worked hard. I mean, you worked so hard, and Caitlyn practicing. I mean, uh, where were you before even club and being able to use the gym? Were you able to get a couple of your teammates and just play outdoors somewhere or at a park or?
We did head down to the beach a few times in practice, but it was mainly a lot of just me doing stuff against the wall.
Whatever works. I mean, it's good. You got to stay sharp, and obviously, you did stay sharp enough that you were recognized. And again, I can't congratulate you enough times that on your feet to ending up at Chico State. I mean, that's huge.
Caitlin, San Diego. I think there's one girl right now. They're on the team from Poway High, but. They just senior last season. Kim Martin was from Patrick Henry. I don't know if you know her. She was, I believe, she'd probably end up probably one of their top players that they've probably top 10, maybe top 5 players in the program's history by the time she finished her career. And of course, she went to Patrick Henry. Do you know her or know about her?
Yes, I know about her. I didn't get to meet her, but we have gone back and forth texting.
Oh, great.
Wow.
That does sound, I bet she could give you some, from one Patriot to another, so to speak. But I bet you should, if you're already texting with her, I mean, you're going to get some tremendous advice. I remember reading, I think there might have been an article from the UT that covered some of her exploits. And doing research for this, I looked at the roster and I saw her on there and looked back at her career and wow, big time player for Chico State. And I just hope everything goes great there. It's going to be exciting. I know that they're still sad over the loss of their longtime coach, Dave. He had over 200 wins in his coaching career. Like I said, one losing season in 17 years. So Caitlyn's expecting to win up there at Chico State. That's for sure.
Yep.
And you already obviously you've met some of the players that you will be the younger players that you'll be playing with.
Not met in person, but over text or
right.
social media. Mm-hmm.
So maybe you did video chat with some of them though, and kind of break the ice, if you will.
Not video chat. I'm sure that's coming, but just like social media.
Okay. Well, can you imagine? I mean, we've come so far on that too. If we didn't have that now, and the mental health of being out of athletics would have been even tougher in these times. But I think personally, as I've pressed Ramon all year, I've been the one pressuring and saying, no, we need. It's not about we want. No, we need these kids to get out there. We need them to play games. They need to play these games, and it's. I mean, we do need to do it safely. However, as I said all along, I think we could have played a little sooner. That's just my personal opinion. And obviously, you guys were a little bit ahead of the curve, Caitlyn. Being a private school, you guys can do a little bit differently than the Grossmont Conference as a whole. So a little bit ahead of the game, I'm sure. Cathedral Catholic also. So just to name one, also definitely ahead of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dave, and you mentioned taking it to the top, and that's what the Let Them Play CA organization did. And like I said, just hats off and a thank you, a heartfelt thank you, and much love to those organizers because they stood up for the the kids really and made their voice heard. I do believe in my heart of hearts that the pandemic is bigger than the politics of it, and that the fact that we're winding out of the the flu season. I'm not calling it flu. I'm just saying that's when airborne illnesses happen the most, between November, December, January, and you see those charts. And it looks like now, with it going down, we're just going to be able to burst right into the summer. There'll still be some issues, and then we'll be going through the vaccines, and we'll have to be on our toes once we get to November and December. Even though many people will have vaccines and things like that, that's where we're going to see a little bit of a rise again. But hopefully this was the big push. I don't want to say hopefully it was, but they say if it comes in with the first wave, that was that March. This wave was the huge wave, and then it just tapers down over the next year or so, hopefully, and that's where we're at. And it won't interfere in our seasons to come, and it won't interfere with Caitlyn heading up to Chico State. Thank you so much, Caitlyn Eichhorst. I probably should have interviewed you and asked you more about the exploits of all of your family. The tremendous Eichhorst family have been doing it for generations now in athletics. Is there another Eichhorst coming?
There is. I have a little brother. He's in 8th grade right now.
Okay,
Wow.
What's he do?
He's
like?
baseball and football and basketball.
Well,
all
of
three.
course, he's baseball. Look out.
Yeah.
I mean, he might play those other sports, Dave, but we already know the Eichhorst baseball. 3 guys who were pretty good, and I just remember that article. Man, it must have been, I want to say it was 10, 15 years ago, when Caitlyn's uncle had that incredible doubleheader and smashed Biola that day. So thanks a lot, Caitlyn, for doing this. Dave, do you want to keep her around? Do you want to talk any more about what's going to be going down?
I was just going to say, I don't know if you recall, and I don't know if Caitlyn was able to see that, but it still stands out in my mind because that's who I was speaking with when I was grabbing a few people off the side, the push for California athletics that day. I happened to be at Granite Hills interviewing a few folks, and the one that still stands out, and boy, I think we still got the most hits for that one that you tweeted out. Don't ever forget little Griffin. I think he was a little 8 or 9-year-old boy playing for the Santee Ravens. You recall?
Yeah.
Push it. And I tell you what, for being the young little boy that he was and making a push for he wanted his, I think it was his sister's boyfriend to play and for her to play. And just to hear someone so young out there pushing for it too, and in uniform, really, it should really those types of stories and those types of interviews, those are the ones that should be sent north and really make an impact and get people to lift some of this, not just based on, I mean, I know a lot of it's based on the science, but I won't get into it, Ramon. Don't worry. I won't touch it because
hey, you said it yourself, David, probably should have played earlier. Looking back on it, yes, we probably should have played all the way through March, April, May, June, all the way up to football season. We probably would have to shut it down anyways once the pandemic got out of control in November. But looking back on it, maybe that's where they'll say there might have been, or maybe we were already flattening the curve. So I don't know. I'm not an epidemiologist, just to play one on YouTube. But maybe we'll get, what we do is we'll get Caitlyn out there, be our sideline reporter this football season.
That would be great. If you're ever interested, Caitlyn, we'd be more than happy to have you. If it was just starting with photos and video, even with your phone, and you sound like a great talker. So I don't think you would have any troubles interviewing a player like Gabe Krug after he's thrown 6 touchdown passes to knock off Cathedral Catholic.
Yeah, you mentioned all those quarterbacks, Dave. You forgot about Gabe.
I never forgot about Gabe. I was saving the best for last. So We really appreciate it, Caitlyn. And you know what? We wish you all the success, not only at Chico State, but in your final year at Christian High School. And we know that you'll be making an impact and definitely leave another part of the legacy for your family crest over there, Christian. And we thank you for taking time out of your evening to be on our show and spend a few minutes with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Oh, our pleasure. Shout out to all the Eichhorsts out there. We know you're watching. So shout out to the many Eichhorsts that have played and been covered really in East County sports. You know, I didn't know all that off the top of my head, although I did, after looking back on it, remember some of those moments. But they're all really on East County sports. Well, except for your dad, because that was back to the Daily Californian. Dave, I did go back, and there was an awesome article actually written by your dad about Caitlyn's uncle, and I'll share that with you. And probably I should have it ready. I'll share it with you after the show.
Thank you so much, Caitlyn, and for coming on the show. And thank you to Christian High. And for Ramon Scott, I'm Dave Dickens. And thank you very much.
Good night, everyone.